everyone, how you doing today? My name's Eric. As always, I want to thank you for taking a couple minutes and checking out my video today. On this episode of Smo'King, I'm going to be doing an unboxing and review of the Vacmaster SV10 Sous Vide Immersion Circulator. Now, to be completely honest with all my viewers out there, I did receive this unit free of charge from Vacmaster to give you guys an honest and detailed review. To give you a little history of Vacmaster, they're a company that was formed in Kansas City many years ago by a group of people that worked in the meat industry, and they were looking to bring affordable vacuum sealers to not only people in the food industry, but also to the home consumer, and they've been very successful for that, hence the name Vacmaster. Shortly after they got into the vacuum sealing business, they decided to make their first Sous Vide Immersion Circulator, and it was called the SV10. And I know a lot about the SV10 because I have an SV10. If you guys are familiar with my YouTube channel and you guys go way back and watch my very first sous vide videos that I did for my channel, they all featured me cooking with the Vacmaster SV10, and this is a great unit, and I would highly recommend it still to this day. It's pretty simplistic. It doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles of some of the newer machines, but it is a powerful workhorse. And the price has gone down quite drastically from what I paid for it many years ago. But again, if you're in the market for a less expensive machine, check out the SV10. But back to this video, I'm really excited to check this out. This is their top of the line sous vide machine that they offer. They offer the SV1, they offer kind of the middle of the road one called the SV5, and then this one being the SV10 is their top of the line. And all these units are very heavy duty, commercial grade, kind of recommended for people in the food business, restaurant industry, that kind of thing. So stick around, we're going to open the box, we're going to check it out together, and most importantly, we're going to test it and see how it works. Let's get cooking. Alright, so let's open this box and let's see what we got here. Now, first impressions, I have to say this came shrink wrapped in plastic, and all it has really is a cardboard sleeve that's kind of holding in two pieces of styrofoam. And so I have to say I'm not very impressed with that. It's kind of a little bit of a cheesy container. Let's see here. We have the user guide. Oh, we have the unit itself. All right, let me just place this down real quick. Oh, and on the back side, we have something very unique to this sous vide machine. It has its very own temperature probe. All right, so let's take a look at this this machine. Like I told you earlier, this is their top of the line industrial strength Sous Vide Immersion Circulator, and it's pretty heavy duty. My first impressions are, even though it's made of some heavy duty plastic, it's got some weight to it. It doesn't feel flimsy at all. It looks very heavy duty. One thing I have to say too about Vacmaster that I really like about the company, these are actually made in Europe and Switzerland. So they're they're engineered to be fixed. So if something breaks, you can see these big heavy duty screws here. You can take the unit apart, you can replace the heating element, you can replace various components if something breaks down, which I really like. Some of the less expensive ones that you see for the home markets that are made in China, they're kind of like disposable lighters. It breaks, you throw it away. You really can't replace everything because it's molded in hard plastic. So that's one thing I really like about it. We got a touchscreen panel on the top here. Obviously this is where the water comes out. Max minimum water line. And let's see back here. You can see underneath here we have the little on-off switch, the power switch, and then this is the jack where you would plug in the temperature probe that comes with the unit. And then down here, it's got, like I said, a removable door here. Let me see if I can pop that off. It's got a removable door here that you pop off, kind of swivels up. And there you go. Now you can look into the heart of the machine. The first thing I noticed right away is the heating element. It's much bigger and more heavy duty than what you typically find in these less expensive units. It's got a wider diameter and it's much thicker and heavier duty. And then it's got a little plastic fan in here, and the way they have it is so the water will be channeled through this little opening, giving it a little bit more, I guess, power to circulate more water efficiently. And then in the very back, it's got a float mechanism, kind of like in your toilet. I don't know if you can see that. That obviously is to shut the unit off if the water level drops low. It's got a heavy-duty metal plate on the bottom, and so far, I have to say I'm pretty impressed. It looks like it's a well-built unit here, and I'm anxious to get started to see how it performs. So let me pop that in. Let me get my container out. Let's fill it up with water. Let's plug it in and let's see what we think. Be back in a minute. All right, so I just put it in my 5-gallon container, the one I use most frequently. And you can see I still have quite a bit of level left to put in here water-wise. And you can see the way they have the minimum max line and the way that attaching thumb screw is. It's made so you can literally bring it right up to max and you're still within the container. I know some of the other sous vide machines, specifically the Innova Nano, the way that bracket is mounted, there's no way you can even get water up to that max line. So that's a nice feature. So anyway, let's get this fired up and see how it operates. All right, so let's get this fired up. I'm going to hit the power button on the back side of the unit. Here we go. So this is all touchscreen, very nice. Up on the top, you have all your information. Water, which means, obviously you're heating the water. These little 3 lines you might not be able to see indicate that the heater element is on and heating the water. There's another little probe light, and if I push it, you can manually set a temperature for your temperature probe if you're using it, which is nice, and I'll go over more of that later. This moves the fan when the fan is circulating water, and then on the very end you got your little settings. So if you hit the settings, you can change it from Celsius or Fahrenheit. Looks like it's defaulting to Fahrenheit. You can pick your language. Looks like it's defaulting to English. Boom, we're ready to go. Hit the green check mark. Now it has an automatic timer or a manual timer. The automatic timer is if you say you're going to cook something for 3 hours, you set it to 3 hours. Once it hits 3 hours, or once the water hits the temperature, it starts to count down, and then at the end of 3 hours it beeps and lets you know the food is done. Manually means you just put your food in, it reaches temperature, you say, okay, let it go off in 3 or 4 hours, whatever. That's what I'm probably going to be using. So anyway, I just filled the container with warm water out of my tap in the kitchen here. It's 113.7 degrees. So let's hit start. Well, first let's change the temperature. Okay, 140. You can hold down the button and it goes in 1 temperature increments, or you can tap it, in which case it'll go in 1/10 of a degree. So let's do 140. Boom, and let's see start. Let's hear it now. Fire it up, start. Okay, here we go. You can see the fan is circulating water. You can see the heater element is heating, and you can look at the temperature, and I have to say it's climbing pretty fast. It's already at 114.1. Let's just see it, 114.3. All right, I want to show you guys the water circulation here, and it might be really hard to see. Hopefully you can see because I put some lights on here to show the reflection. But I have to say, the amount of water circulating in this 5-gallon container is better than any of the sous vide machines I've ever used in the past. I mean, sometimes you plug them in, you can hear the fan blowing, but you really can't see the water circulating like you can here. In fact, you can see back here, look at the water that's circulating against the back of the machine. It's like a little fountain almost. So, this is pretty impressive, and that's what I mean by a heavy-duty machine. You're going to get something that's going to be able to circulate water better, keep the temperature up there, and a bigger container with more water as well. All right, so it's been a couple minutes, and I already have to say this thing is climbing the temperature quicker than any other machine that I've ever used in the past. So I did a little bit of homework and tried to find out as much as I could about this machine, specifically the specs of the machine compared to other sous vide immersion circulators that are out on the market. I came across a site which I frequent quite a bit called Amazing Food Made Easy, and they actually did benchmark testing on 35 different sous vide immersion circulators. and they did all kinds of testing. So since they did the testing, I'm just going to give you the results, okay? This one had the fastest startup time out of those 35 machines as far as bringing the water from 75 degrees room temperature up to 140. This machine did it in 15.5 minutes, which is pretty impressive because some of the machines, the more professional machines you might be familiar with, took well over a half hour. So this one has the biggest capacity of bringing that water temperature up the fastest. The main advantage of this, particularly if you own a restaurant or a catering business or even the home consumer, is when you put in a bunch of cold food, maybe from the freezer, maybe from the refrigerator, and you dunk it into water, you know what happens. The water temperature instantly takes a dive, and sometimes it can take a very long time to bring that water temperature back up to where you had it set. This unit is going to be able to recover and get back to that target temperature quicker and faster than any other unit on the market. So that's a big plus. The only negative that Amazing Foods Made Easy had about this machine was the temperature stability. They would measure what the unit was saying it was supposed to be, and then they did individual temperature probes in the water, and they found a variance of 0.7 of a degree. So 0.7 of a degree isn't a whole lot, and it's probably not going to make a big difference when you're cooking. Especially if you're familiar with smoking and barbecuing, you got temperature probes on a piece of meat on your smoker or grill. You're always off 1 or 2 degrees in either direction. It's supposed to just kind of give you a basic idea. But for a very expensive machine that's supposed to be precise and offer precision, 0.7 of a degree is a little on the high end, especially when you compare it to some of the lower machines, the less expensive machines that were getting 0.3, 0.2, some of them even had 0.1 of a temperature variance. My own personal opinion, I think it's because the heating element on in this unit is so big that when it kicks on, it can heat the water quicker, as we already know, but once it hits that target temperature, it shuts off, and being that that unit's so big, I bet you, even though it shuts off, you still got some residual heat, and the water circulating, it probably just brings it up that 0.7. I mean, that's the only thing I can think. All right, so now I just want to do some comparison between two of the most popular sous vide circulators on the market today with the Vacmaster, okay? And that's going to be the Innova cooker, and since this is a top-of-the-line Vacmaster, I'm going to do a comparison with the Innova Cooker Pro, because that's their kind of industrial strength unit. And then the Joule is the other one, although it's not really mentioned to be a commercial grade unit, it is still very popular. So we're just going to do a comparison between those three machines just to give you guys some ideas. Okay, first is the temperature variance. The Vacmaster says it has a plus or minus of 0.1 of a degree Celsius, okay? Same for the Joule, 0.1 of a degree Celsius plus or minus. The Innova Cooker Pro actually has a better temperature control because it is 0.05 of a degree Celsius plus or minus. So Innova Pro wins that department. Now, is there a big difference between 0.05 and 0.1? Probably not, but wanted to give you guys the facts, okay? Next, let's compare the water capacity, or how much water can be pumped through these units. The Vacmaster here has a 16 liter per minute circulation ability. It comes out to 4.22 gallons, okay? The Innova Cooker Pro is 12 liters, so 4 liters less than the Vacmaster, and the Joule is even less than that. It's only 6 liters, or 3.17. So out of those three, this one is able to circulate the most amount of water within 1 minute than those other two, okay? And then the last thing I want to do is just compare the size of the heating element itself. The Vacmaster SV10 has a 1300 watt heating element. The Innova cooker has a 1200 watt heating unit, and then the Joule has an 1100 watt unit. So again, as far as the strength of the heating element, the Vacmaster comes ahead. The only other thing I'm going to tell you about are the warranties. Both the Vacmaster and the Joule come with a 1-year warranty if anything breaks. The Innova Cooker Pro wins this department again because it's got a 2-year warranty if something breaks. So take it for what it is. Like I told you earlier, this unit actually has its own individual temperature probe, okay? And it's the only sous vide machine that I know on the market that currently has this, okay? So I'm going to plug it in the back here. And you might say, well, what do I need that for? And I guess you don't really need it because, you know, the water is circulating at a certain temperature. As long as the machine is accurate, this is going to be pretty accurate too. But what's really cool is they have, well, there we go. It reached 140 degrees and it's only been a few minutes. So the only advantage of this is they have this optional product you can get called sous vide tape, which is pretty cool. You can vacuum seal a piece of meat in a bag. You can put this sous vide tape, and it looks like it's a 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick foam tape. You just take a little like 1.5 inch piece, put it on the top of the bag, and you can kind of just push this temperature probe. It's very thin through the tape, through the plastic, and into the food. And that sealing tape, that sous vide tape, kind of seals it and keeps everything airtight. So what's cool about that is you can actually monitor the temperature of the food, which particularly comes in handy if you're putting something in maybe that's frozen, you're putting something that's been in a refrigerator, and you're not sure how long you want to cook it for. This will give you a more accurate idea of when it hits temperature and how long it's been there. And you can even, without the sous vide tape, I'm going to be experimenting. I'm sure if you do the air displacement method, you'll probably be able to slide this through the top of the bag into the meat and monitor it that way. So anyway, I have my little ThermoPro Instaread, and we're just going to do a little side-by-side comparison here and see what we're at. Okay, 140, 139.6, 140, 140.2, 140.2, 140.4, 140.2. Okay, so again, there's your 0.7 of a variance. Let's look at my Instaread. 140.5, 139.6. So this temperature probe seems to be pretty accurate, and it's matching exactly what the machine says it's supposed to be. So this is pretty cool. I mean, is it a necessity? No, it's not. But I'm going to experiment with it. I think it's kind of cool, especially if you got that sous vide tape. I think it's pretty neat. Another product I want to tell you about that Vacmaster makes is a temperature monitoring kit you can get, and this is really cool if you have a restaurant or a catering business. It's a separate unit with its own temperature probes, and using that sous vide tape you can plug the things into the things you're cooking, and it eliminates, you know, the probability of error because it has automatic monitoring. It basically sends all these temperature readings in intervals up to a cloud that you can later look at through your computer or through the app on your phone and know exactly what temperature you were cooking everything at and how long it was at that temperature and so forth. So that comes in very handy, particularly if you got a catering or a restaurant and you're sous vide cooking and you want to make sure you stay compliant with the health regulations, you know, when the health inspector comes by. So this is really cool, and if you're in the market for it, I would definitely recommend getting that optional temperature monitoring kit, because people who buy this kit and become HACCP compliant basically have 100% pass rate with the health department, because it's you know, there's really no way to cheat the system. It's uploading all this information that you can later show to the health department if they come by, an inspector, and for your own you know, well-being as well, to make sure that all the food you're cooking isn't falling within the danger zone. All right, the last thing I want to mention before I give you my final thoughts, and probably a lot of you are probably screaming at the screen right now, is what about an app? This machine doesn't have an app, so you're not going to be able to sit back, you know, in front of the TV and look at your cell phone and say, oh, you know, it's at 138 degrees. You're actually going to have to come up and look at the unit and see what the temperature is, okay? It's not going to have recipes that you can look up like some of the other more well-known brands. So if that's important to you, this machine doesn't have it, okay? It's kind of old school. You plop it in, you set the temperature, you hit the timer, you put the food in, you're done. For me personally, it's not a big deal because I don't really use an app. Even for my Innova, I did download the app. I kind of played around with it. I looked at some of the recipes, but as far as when I'm ready to cook something, I kind of already know. There's a lot of information and resources out there about cooking times and temperatures with sous vide. So you can just do a little experiment. For the guy that's not really into it, I could see the benefits of having an app. It's kind of cool, but this is kind of doesn't have that. Like, it's more intended for the, you know, commercial grade cooker who's not really concerned about using an app. So if that's a big feature, this probably isn't the unit for you. All right, so now I'm going to go over my final thoughts and the pros and cons of this unit. The pros. This is a heavy-duty Sous Vide Immersion Circulator. It's built to last with exchangeable parts. So that's a big plus. It's not cheaply made in China like some of the other ones. It's able to heat the water faster than any sous vide machine out there, according to the benchmark testing at Amazing Food Made Easy. Okay, so that's nice. It's quiet. It's easy to use. It's well made. You know, if this temperature probe kind of seems like a cool idea, it's the only sous vide machine that I know on the market that has it. And I'm going to experiment with it and see, you know, how useful this will be. But I think it's a cool feature to have, particularly if you don't have a, you know, a manual one. You have one built into the unit itself, which is nice. Okay, the cons. The biggest con, it doesn't have an app. You can't set it remotely from your computer or from your cell phone, okay? You can't look up recipes, you can't look at pictures of doneness. So if that's important to you, this unit doesn't have that, okay? The other con is the temperature stability, 0.7 of degree. It was kind of on the high end with those 35 sous vide machines that they tested, the benchmark testing, and Amazing Food Made Easy. Is it a big deal? No, probably not. 0.7 of degrees, not really going to change the consistency of what you're cooking. But for an expensive, kind of top-of-the-line, commercial-grade machine, you know, you should expect a little bit better than 0.7, in my opinion. And, of course, the biggest con of them all is the price. This is an expensive sous vide unit, and it's probably out of the price range of a lot of people out there, particularly if they just want a sous vide, you know, maybe a couple times a month, or just experiment. They might not even know if they're going to like it. This is an expensive machine, okay? So there are a lot of machines you can get for under 200 bucks. There's even some you can get under 100 bucks. Are they going to work as well as this? No, but will they give you the ability to still sous vide cook and kind of experiment and see if sous vide cooking is something for you? Yeah, of course they will. So bear that in mind. This isn't going to appeal to everyone, but for someone in the market looking for a heavy-duty machine that's going to last many years to come, that's able to heat the water the fastest, that's able to circulate the most amount of water, you know what? This might be something you can consider. As a special treat to my viewers, there's a link below to Vacmaster's website, to a special page specifically for my viewers. It's going to show Eric's Smoking Barbecue tips and recipes, where if you order anything from their site, you use my little code that they're going to put on that page, and I'll leave the link below, you're going to get a 15% discount. So whether you want to buy the SV1 unit, you want to buy the SV5, the SV10, you want to buy a vacuum sealer, you want to buy any kind of that temperature monitoring kit, go to their website, check it out. They got some really neat things. They even have some spices they sent me, which I'm going to be using in some upcoming videos coming soon. So if there's anything you want to order from Vacmaster, use my link below, get your 15% discount. As always, guys, I really appreciate you watching my video. If you like it, please hit the like button. I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I'll leave a link above to my website, ericsmokingbarbecue.com, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.